Hello, you. It's Josh here. Welcome back to Clearside Valley, where today we're going to be building a super realistic main street. But as usual, before we do get started, I have some things to show you that I've done between episodes. So first of all, right here, you can see, well, this has been made. In the live stream after the last episode right here, we actually made all of this area, which looks so good. And then the other major thing that we've done right here is I've actually finished up this carousel area pretty much. So as you can see, we've now got these lovely pictures on the wall right here. I've also made this really cute little op cabin right here, along with 𝗕men, which as you can see has a ton of detail. I mean, look at this here. We've even got some books up here on this shelf. And also this really nice whiteboard that has like a schedule and some really cool Easter eggs on it. But yeah, that's mainly what's happened between episodes right here. So let's actually get straight into it and let's get building. Okay, so obviously in this episode right here, we're going to be building this main street area with these buildings right here. But before we do that, we have actually had an update in Theme Park Tycoon 2, which has added some new materials which look so nice. So the first thing that I want to do right here, obviously we're using concrete for these walls. I want to try changing them to the brand new plaster texture because the idea is that these are kind of just made out of plaster. So let's just try that. Ooh, yes. Okay, that is looking pretty damn nice right here, but there is one other thing that I want to still do as well. So obviously this roof right here, I haven't actually added this pattern, mainly just because of MB. You're not really going to see it. There's not much point. But we have actually got a brand new roof shingles texture right here. Let's actually have a look at this right here. And as you can see, this looks pretty damn nice. It definitely looks better than just having this as concrete. But anyway, now we've actually added all the new textures in right here. Let's actually have a look at, well, these main street buildings. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is actually plan where the buildings are going to be, what size they're going to be, etc, etc. Okay, but there we go. We've actually got a plan. I'm going to take this building by building, otherwise my brain will literally just explode. So let's start off with this one right here. First of all, we're going to have like a bit of a trim on the wall, I guess, which I'm just going to bring a little out like so. And then we're also going to bring it out a little bit like this to create a pattern, something like that. And then now we need some pillars right here that'll actually break it up where the doors and stuff are, which I'm just going to add one right here on the edge and one over here. We're going to make these parts really small right here, then have doors. Okay, there we go. This ain't looking bad so far. Okay, and then we're going to actually bring the top of this in, which I guess will be... Yeah, sure. Let's actually go with that right there. So I'm just going to drag this across. Bring all of these pillars down like so. And then here, I think we're actually going to have a bit of an awning that goes over this because I quite like that look. So let's just drag this out like so. And then we'll get some wedge pieces in like so to actually, you know, make the awning part. That part's probably quite important, actually, yeah. Okay, and there we go. We've got a frame for the bottom floor. And now I pretty much need to do the exact same thing for the second floor. So I'm going to save you guys a penny of it. I'm going to get it done in 3, 2, 1... And there we go, boys. Look at that. The magic of editing, hey? So as you can see, I've actually built the second floor right here. It's looking pretty good, although it is, of course, missing the wall. So basically what we're going to do right here is actually just add a wedge like this. And then we're just going to place a bunch of those all the way up this wall. Okay, that's actually a little bit too much. Hold on. More like this. There we go. That looks good. And then now we need to actually color this right here, which is obviously going to be a bit of a yellow. There we go. I think I actually quite like that there. I know this is looking very white right now. Don't worry. We're going to add some more details later that will make this look a little bit less, you know, just white. But first, let's actually just get all these walls in. Okay, and there we go. This is actually looking pretty good. It's shaping up, you know. Next, I want to add the stripes onto this little bit of roof right here, which is honestly easier said than done right here, but, you know, we'll work it out, guys. But I think if we just place this in something like this, then another piece like so. Can you guys tell that I'm just completely winging this, by the way? I think you can, can't you? Although I'm not gonna lie, to say that I'm completely winging this ain't turning out so bad. I like that. I like that. So now let's actually just chuck some more of those in. Anyway, next up, let's actually get some windows in right here. Okay, and there we go. We actually have some windows in now. This is looking a lot more solid already. The only thing I'm still not sure about is just how like light this all looks. You know, it's very, very whitish right here. Hang on, I have a bit of an idea right here. Let me try something. Yeah, no, let's just yeah, no, just pretend like you never. No, it won't let me undo it all. Oh. Well, it's time to repaint it all again. Yay! See you in a little bit.
2 very boring minutes later.
Okay, there we go. That totally didn't take forever. There is some more details that I do actually want to add in right here, though, as well. So I'm actually going to go do that on a quick little time-lapse right here. So without further ado, take it away, voiceover Josh. Finally, now that idiot Yapper has shut up, it's time to get adding some more detail to these windows, including some striped shade cover things just to add a bit more color and depth to these windows. Speaking of depth, I'm also changing up some colors here and there across the building, including these window frames, which felt like they should be a bit darker and a different material so they didn't blend in so much. That's enough work on the second floor for now, though, so we're going downstairs to placing these bottom windows, and well, I lied because we're now going back all the way up to the roof. Here I'm placing in a couple dormers just to break up this pretty plain and simple roof. With these dormers, I'm just trying to imitate the look of the rest of the building and add some nice windows in with that same sort of frosted window effect, and then we're all done. Now, you're probably wondering what this random strip is for, and that's, of course, for this shop signage. I introduced to you the Clearside Valley Confectionery and Co. What does that even mean? I have no idea. It just sounded rounded. Good. Following that, I'm making a nice 3D candy sign that'll hang off the second floor, so it's easy to tell this is a candy store. Although I should point out that even though it looks like a candy store, this will of course be the entrance to the park's main gift shop. And with that added in, it made me think, what if instead of yellow, we use this deep blue color as the accents rather than yellow? And I am so glad that I did, because this made this building look genuinely a billion times better than it did before. Okay, but now this is looking a lot better. I'm heading up to the dormers to add some more accents in the form of little hanging flags, which will eventually be replaced by image panel flags with the logo on it. Not much left to do now, so with most of the building done, I'm building these bricks up and working on the completely custom doors for this building. I actually had a lot of issues working out how I wanted these to look, but with a bunch of trial and error, I finally got a design I like. And with that, I'm filling in the rest of this gift shop floor and placing in the rest of these doors before realizing that I'm an idiot and made them too wide. So, time to go through the fun of making them all the right width. Why do I do this to myself? And now, with those doors all in with the proper width, the last thing to do is add in these little hydraulic piston things you normally find on commercial doors, just to keep them open and ensure they don't close too quickly. They really didn't need this much time and effort put into them, but finally, after far too long, they are all in and looking great. So, without further ado, let's head back to me in the past. And well, guys, here we are a couple hours later, and this building is completely finished, and I've got to say, I am so happy with how it turned out. I was a little bit scared because it wasn't looking good for a very long time. But once I introduced the blue and actually added some, you know, different colors and darker colors in here, I am so happy with how this turned out. Although every time I record one of these Clearside Valley episodes, I'm like, oh, it'll only take a couple of hours. This time I'm gonna, you know, record less footage. This building took me about 3 hours alone, and we still have a couple more. So let's not even mess around here, guys. Let's get straight onto this second building. Okay, so for this building right here, I want to do something a little bit more simple. So I'm just going to start off with something like this, I think. Then we're just going to bring this out, I don't know, about to here. We're going to bring this wall up to about maybe, well, I guess there, because that's the maximum. Well, actually, let me take it up. Okay, no, I want to bring it to about there, like that. Okay, and here's our basic shape, I think, right here. This works. And now what I'm thinking right here is that we do quite a, you know, steep bit of roof on either side right here, so that it comes to a peak like so. So 1 second here, guys.
A few inches later.
All right, and there we go. With some movie magic, I have actually finished the roof and this kind of wall plan right here. Obviously, this looks incredibly, bare at the moment, let's say. Yeah, okay, just looks terrible. This looks absolutely terrible right now. I know, okay, I know. And you've already seen me build a lot of this one right here, and it's going to be a lot of the same stuff right here. So without further ado, you know what's coming. Let's go to a little bit of a time lapse. All right, with the actual shape and idea of this building all in and ready, we can get started straight away with creating this wavy roof trim design that's going to run all the way along the front of the building. Although I was quite happy with how this is looking, it felt a little too thick, so after replacing some parts, I'm shrinking this all down and finally placing it all along this left side. Then with a design nailed down, I'm mirroring it onto the other side and fixing this point in the middle where the two line up with a nice curve. And then I'm finally just finishing off this roof trim around the rest of the roof, along with some small details here and there to really polish this off. Currently, this building is looking a little blue, so the next thing is deciding what color and texture this building will be. I'm going for a bit of a light pinkish color, which will then be accented by a deeper, more rich pink, like on this lovely antique sign right here, made of a bunch of rounded bumps. I've also added a nice darker wood trim around that to really add a darker accent to this building. Next up, it's time to start filling in some holes. Don't take that sentence out of context, please, and build up the serving counter that'll be inhabiting this massive hall right here, along with the frame to go around it, which will also feature some antique looking designs to match the signage above. And now we have the base down. I'm just going through and giving that nice lick of paint and adding some small details into this part under the counter. To continue filling up some holes, I'm moving up to this flat piece of roof caused by this slightly extended section of the building, which after trying 90,000 materials out will be some nice leafy dirt. We can't forget a door to get into this building though, so I'm just copying over the door from a previous building and making it a little taller and different color to more match this building. And now finally, I'm adding a quick flag onto this roof along with filling in this last hole right here, which will be a nice big window with shutters attached to it. I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible with as little parts as possible, which includes using these wedge primitives to create the shutter looking pieces along here. And finally, with some hinges and a frosted over window, it's time for us to head back to live action Josh again. And here we go, guys. The second building on this main street is now finished. I'm also really happy with how this has turned out right here. It is very heavily inspired by the Talbot Street ice cream building that I'll put a photo of on screen. But I am planning to actually expand this building and add a little bit over here as well. But I thought before we did that, well, I've decided what I want to put in this right here, and that is, of course, a Kosie's cookies. So the first thing that I want to do right here is actually get the Kosie's cookies, like, mascot. This was made by Tizzy right here. It's absolutely amazing. Oh, it looks so good. Bruh, I mean, look at this guy. He's Chippy, bro. It's Chippy. Oh, it's so cute. And I, first of all, just want to add a little Chippy right here, just on this corner, seeing as this is a bit of a blank wall, and I think it could do with something like that. Ah, of course, there's too many items. No. What about here? 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 No. No. Okay. What about here? No. What about here? No. What about here? No. What about... Bruh. Can this just not be placed in? What the freak? Okay, unfortunately, this is actually the closest that we can put it to the building right here. But honestly, I think that works fine. And then something else that we need is like a big cookie sign here or something like that, similar to this candy sign right here. Although I actually have a bit of a fun idea right here, guys. So I'm going to leave this cookie to you guys. And whoever creates the best cookie design and submits it down below using the link that's just in the description will win 1,000 Robux, a shout out, and we'll get it added into Clearside Valley right here. In terms of rough size, by the way, it just needs to be around a block size, just like this sort of size here. But yeah, I really look forward to seeing what you guys make right here. But anyway, other than that, the last thing that I just want to do right here, because obviously we actually need to add all the menus and stuff, but that's for a future time. But of course, we need to get the Kosii's Cookies logo in right here. So let's just place an image panel in like that, and then we'll just chuck that image in like so. There we go. I think that looks pretty nice right there. But now, guys, well, in the interest of making this video not a million hours long, what I'm going to do right here is we're going to get a couple more buildings done right here, and then I'll catch you guys once I've done that so I can talk to you about the plan for this next building about here. So without further ado, enjoy the time lapse and take it away, voiceover Josh. Shut up, nerd. Okay, so we're starting out by building a small extension to this building, which will be a pretty simple collection point for people's orders that just matches the style we already got going. However, something different that I did want to add here was just a small cover, so I copied that across from the gift shop building and give it a quick paint job. And now to finish off this roof, I'm just adding that roof trim in, filling in this gap, and adapting the dormer from the carousel building into this building style. Next up, I'm making room for some signage on this cover we just built and placing this collect goodness here decal upon it before adding some custom Kosii's Cookies flags onto the roof. And now with that building all looking pretty good, it's time to move on to the next building here, which I begin designing with a small base and space for some future windows. Above these, I'm building a small strip, which we're going to detail more in just a moment, along with a fancy little trim above it to separate the bottom and second floor. Then to make sure this strip doesn't feel too flat, I'm creating a pretty simple wall panel design that'll wrap all around this building. Oh, and by the way, if you didn't know, this part of the time was actually streamed live on YouTube, so if you don't want to miss any future streams, make sure to subscribe down below. Anyway, it's finally time to get working on the second floor with the addition of a couple pillars followed by whatever you'd call this to cap off the second floor and give us some wall spaces to fill in. And what will be in these spaces? Stop asking so many questions. But okay, fine, I'll tell you. Here I'll be adding a window into each space, which we will be designing very shortly. But hold up, because first it's time to make this building just a little less blue and finally give it all the paint, with the wall panels being in a light teal color and mostly everything else being in a very, very light teal color. I do also just want to point out that in some of these spaces where they just feel a little flat, I'm using a slightly darker color to basically imitate shadows and make sure you really see that depth. Next, I'm heading back down to the bottom floor to fill in these small walls with a simple brick design that I'm painting each with slightly varying colors and textures, and then building the setback little area where the door for this building will eventually be. And now to start turning this into an actual building rather than just a bunch of pillars, I'm getting some more walls in on the side of this building, of course accompanied by this simple little trim at the top. But I'm not finished yet because it's finally time to move on to these front windows. Now, if you're watching this live, you might know that these are not actually the original windows and that I pretty much started these wall sections from scratch after ending that stream, mainly just because I really didn't like how they turned out. Oh, and well, speaking of windows, you can also see I'm filling in these bottom floor windows too, complete with this nice little lattice design on the top part of the window. And well, can't forget to add some lovely flower boxes onto the second floor windows too. Okay, and now with most of this building done, the last thing to sort out is of course this roof. I don't know about you, but I find it to be quite an important part of a building. Now for this, I wanted to do a completely different roof design and style to the other buildings, with flat roofs flanking a smaller peak in the middle, which is all overhanging. This is then coupled with these fancy trim support things I'm building right here, and then in the center, a lovely circular window to fill in this big empty gap. I'm still not completely sure on how this looks, as it does for some reason feel very American. Although later off camera, I have actually shrunk this building down a bit just to make it a little less, well, insanely tall. But anyways, with all that in, the very final thing I'm doing before starting our fourth and final building for this episode is filling in all these gaps at the back of the building. I'm keeping this pretty simple, as you won't really see this, while making sure that they fit the rest of the building nicely. And then finally, with this building in a pretty good place, it's time to move on to the final building of this episode. I'm getting this started off by, of course, just coming up with a bit of a plan for where the walls, roofs, and everything else like this bay window is going to go and look. But with a solid idea down, let's get straight into adding some details and depth onto this building, firstly by adding a bunch of vertical and horizontal beams around this front wall before painting everything up so I can properly see what I'm doing. Don't worry though, the beams aren't over yet, guys. To properly finish up the shape of this front wall here, of course we need to build out this bay window with a ton of beams, which will soon be housing some lovely big windows. Of course though, this bay window needs a little roof at the top because, well, England is a hellhole of constant rain and terrible weather. And well, you know what, while we're at it, we should probably add a roof to the rest of this building too, hey? And well, there we go, we got a roof. Now, one part that I wasn't super happy with is how flat this was all looking, so I'm going through and simply adding a bit more detail in the form of these two cylinders to all the horizontal beams like so. And then after that small break from roofs, it's finally time to get this small little roof overhang on the bottom floor sorted out too. But okay, now all the roofs are in, I'm moving over to this bay window where I'm placing in some simple window frames similar to some of the designs I've used on previous buildings with a bit of a Victorian look just to match the building's style. And speaking of Victorian style, I'm also going up to this wall above the bay window and placing in a bunch more beams to add a little more depth and fill in this big empty gap. And well, I seem to be in a support thingy type of mood because next I'm going down to this small roof overhang and building a simple Victorian trim underneath just to offer a little support and decoration onto this part of the building. Although the keen-eyed among you might have noticed that this left wall just randomly stopped. So the next thing I'm doing is building that out a little more along with the roof. But now it's time for a radical change, as I really wasn't a fan of how this was looking for some reason, so I decided to completely change up the color scheme. Instead of the colorful blue I was going for, I'm changing this up to look a little more classic Victorian with black beams, beige plaster, and bricks on the bottom floor. And next up, I'm just working on a simple little dormer that'll go on this roof overhang down here. You'll also notice that there's a random hole in the wall to the right of it, which has mysteriously appeared. Long story short, it was going to be another window, but I felt with this dormer and then another window, it'd be a little much. Regardless, though, after sorting out the roof for that dormer, I'm getting a simple window design in and filling that up with some frosted glass, followed by the other windows of this building with the bottom floor windows, of course, just being glass. Now, something I think we can all agree on is that the brick texture in Theme Park Tycoon 2 isn't, well, amazing. So I hatched a bit of a plan here to basically add little primitives in that lines up with these bricks and paint them all to be lighter and darker shades of the same color. I'll do more of that a little later, but first, I'm actually heading back to the previous building to just fill in that right wall and get a bit more squared off and not just, you know, half a building. But with that sorted, I'm now heading back down to this very empty brick wall to, of course, add a door and window down into this cute little space. I did originally want to add a smaller bay window, but for some reason, I just could not help but hit the item limit around 1 trillion times. So, after a lot of trying and failing, I'm just grabbing the window from that large bay window over there and just shrinking it down to size. And now to properly finish up this space, I also wanted to add some supports onto this little roof. Seeming as the item limit is not in my favor here, I'm just keeping this quite basic and just adding some poles with small footings onto them, along with some of these outer circle primitives. This is looking pretty close to finished now though, so all that's left to do is add some small finishing touches like some ivy climbing up the side of this building, just to fill these empty walls up, and of course placing more of those fake bricks to add a bit more variation in color to these brick walls. I'm also just finishing this up with some simple but nice potted plants on either side of this bay window, just to add a bit more splashes of greenery, and then, well, with that, this building's all finished. Although before we can go back to live action Josh, there's still one more thing we unfortunately need to do, and that's of course shrink down this entire building's top floor so that it doesn't absolutely tower over every single other building on planet Earth. But anyway, after 94 years of painful stuff, I believe it's time to head back to smelly live action Josh. And well, 9 years and a haircut later, here we go. Some more Main Street buildings have mysteriously appeared right here. I wonder how that happened. But yeah, I'm actually really happy with how these turned out. I think they look pretty good. The only thing that I will say is that this building is maybe a little too American. But you guys will have to let me know what you think down below. As you can see, we have actually stopped right here because this next building is going to be the facade for a dark ride, which will be in this building right here. Which I'm still not really sure what the theme of this dark ride is going to be right here, but I'll work that out a little bit later. Because in the next episode, we're actually going to be working on this roller coaster over here and building out some more scenery. Because right now it looks pretty, bare, let's say, yeah. So make sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss that. Oh, yeah, and one more thing we need to check here. So in the last episode, I actually completely forgot to show you guys what the MB on this park was. Which is my bad, guys, my bad. But I will be showing it you today because it's not good. So without further ado, I reveal to you the MB limit of this park is 2.81 MB, which means we are now over halfway through the total MB of this park, which I'm not gonna lie is pretty crazy, but I don't think it's the end of the world. I think we'll actually be able to finish at least this coaster and another coaster on this plot, and then after that we're just gonna go over to a second plot to continue building Clearside Valley if we run out of MB on this plot. So don't worry, the series isn't ending anytime soon, and well, all that's left to do is say a massive thank you to all the members who are popping up on screen right now. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate all your guys' support. Making these gigantic Clearside Valley episodes would not be possible without you guys. Especially not without you amazing top-level members right here. That's not 𝗕𝗵 and the 𝗕𝗂𝗽𝗍 guy. Thank you so much, you two. I really do appreciate it. And hey, if you have enjoyed this video, why not check out the next episode of Clearside Valley that will be appearing right here once it's up. And until then, YouTube thinks you'll like this video. Go look at it. But other than that, I hope to see you all in another video.